What to Do in Case of Fire is a 2001 released German comedy drama directed by Gregor Schnitzler.
Yes. It kicks off in 1987, showing a group of sort of anarchist punk friends who liked going around causing trouble for the police and breaking stuff. And it shows them making a homemade bomb out of a pressure cooker and some stuff they bought from the supermarket, and chucking it into an abandoned mansion. And then we flash forward 12 years to, I think 2000, isn't it?
About
then, yeah. And someone's being shown this house, so they're interested in buying it. It's been abandoned ever since. And opening the door, it sets off this bomb and it blows up. So, the hunt for these people is on. The police look into it. They could see that this bomb is, obviously not new. It's been there for a while. So they start looking at all these old anarchist groups. All these guys have grown up, and most of them have got, respectable jobs and families and things like that. So two of them are still living in the same rundown apartment block that they ran their sort of anarchist agenda from. One of which is Tim, played by Till Schweiger, and Hot or Hoti, or I can't remember how to say his name.
Yeah, we should really apologise to the entire German nation for some of our
pronunciations.
And because I got family out there as well. My half brothers are all living in Germany.
You should be doubly ashamed.
I should. Hey, I do my best.
You have a Swiss slap with a bratwurst.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe like that. Anyway, played by Martin Feifel. Possibly that's how you say it.
Yeah. We'll go with
Who knows? And in the, he's unfortunately hot. Let's call him hot. Has lost. Has a lot.
It's H-O-T-T-E. So if anyone,
I can't remember how they say it in the film, but anyway,
no,
it's probably Hote. Don't know. He's lost his legs, unfortunately. So Tim, feels responsible for him and looks after him. And they're still kind of living the same life, really, aren't they? Sort of causing trouble,
aren't they?
Yeah,
and just rebelling.
And the landlord wants to get rid of them because I think he wants to redevelop the property because it's falling apart. So, but yes, once this bomb goes off, he then has to. He's concerned that they're going to be found out that they're the ones who created it, and he has to find their former friends and try and figure out what to do.
What to Do in Case of Fire is the film.
Mm-hmm.
Let it burn, as they say at the beginning of the film.
Yeah.
So I'd seen this, my suggestion. You hadn't seen this before.
No.
I saw this about 10 years ago, and I have to actually, I watched it the other day, and I didn't actually quite like it as much as the first time I'd seen it. I think I'm quite interested in Germany, very interested in the history of Germany, specifically kind of 70s and the 80s. And since watching this for the first time, I think I probably read quite a lot about it. And that period in Germany, so obviously this is this film's set in Berlin. And I think what was interesting in the 70s and the 80s, specifically for younger people, was that they were, really kind of trying to kind of rebirth themselves into a new world. So they were kind of throwing away all their kind of the post-war ideals that came before that. And specifically with film and art and music, they really came up with their own thing. And obviously there are, there's some really great filmmakers that came out of Germany around that time, some great musicians and bands. And so it's a very interesting time. And also in what was interesting so there was a kind of anarchist punk movement that happened in the 80s. Obviously around the world at that point, punk, end of the 70s, early 80s, punk was a thing. It came out of Britain, it came out of America. All countries had their kind of versions of punk. But in Germany and in East Germany, I think it was the GDR were very kind of anti a lot of arts and music and things like that. And I think a lot of punks found themselves at the wrong hand of the law, should we say, around that time. And I think it was quite a very volatile time, lots of people rebelling against things and the system and whatnot. There was actually a really good book that came out a couple of years ago called Beyond No Future, which really details that whole time. And it's really worth a read if you can get hold of it. But it really kind of shows that, obviously, how the rest of the world looked at punk and how the Germans were looking at punk as well. It was a really interesting read. But since reading that, and then now watching this film now, this film feels not historically accurate, shall we say. And they're kind of a small anarchist group. You know, they're squatting, and they're just out to have fun. Yes, they're doing what all punks and youngsters do at that time, is to rebel against the system and to kind of bring the system down. A bit like Fight Club, like all that kind of thing you see in cinema. They're quite harmless. I mean, they're no RAF, the Red Faction, the Red Army faction, Bader Meinhof, like in the 70s, and nothing like that. They're a lot more harmless, and they don't want to go out and kill people. That's not their aim.
I mean, that's why they put the bomb in an abandoned building.
Exactly. Yeah. So I found this time round. The first time I saw it, I think I was watching a lot of Til Schweiger's films. And that's how I came across it. I think he's a really interesting actor. He did, of course, turn up in Inglourious Bastards.
Yep.
Tarantino's film, and he's done a few other things as well. Was it Far Cry?
Yeah, he unfortunately made the Far Cry video game adaptation, but we won't hold it against him. But no, he's done other stuff. Atomic Blonde a couple of years ago, and even popped up in Muppets Most Wanted a few years ago.
There you go.
Varied career.
So yeah, he's done a lot of films in Germany. There's some really good films as well, and that's how I found this film. But I thought it's very playful and it's quite silly, this film. I found it a little bit Hollywoodized. I suppose at the end of the day, it's not really about what was going on in Germany at that point. It's more about the individual personalities themselves, and it's about people that have either moved on from their past and are trying to escape their past, and then about people who can't move on from their past. No. Of course, you've got the two central characters who are still living in that way. They're in their, I suppose, their late 30s now, and they're still squatting and they're still fighting the system. I think, as one of them says, you never fight for anything, you're always fighting against something. And then, of course, you've got the rest of the friends who they've moved on and they've joined the responsible civilization, as we should all apparently do. So they kind of want to escape their past. And then, of course, with this bomb going off, their past kind of catches up with them. So it's from that point of view, it felt a bit Hollywoodized, I suppose, and some of the relationships in there. But it's good fun, and you enjoyed it.
No, I did, yeah. I mean, at the start, I thought this seems like a German version of Fight Club.
Yeah.
And it's all filmed obviously it's all their plan, making the bomb and then fighting the police and things like that. And it's got a voiceover, a bit like Edward Norton's. At the start, it's all filmed handheld, and it's all grainy and stuff you can't really see. I think maybe that's to hide the fact that the same actors are playing themselves quite younger when they haven't actually aged at all later on in the film. But yeah, that feels a bit Fight Club. And then when we move forward a few years, it felt very much like Trainspotting 2 in the way that old friends coming back together, and then it turned a bit Ocean's 11 towards the end. So it's a kind of mash-up of those three films. Wow. But in a good way, well, kind of a good way. Yeah, like you say, there's silly elements to it. I mean, there's some parts where plot holes maybe, I guess, where things happen and you think, well, that doesn't really make any sense. I mean, I can't talk about it too much without giving away spoilers, but yeah, you kind of just have to go with it, and it's more about the characters and where they are and where they're going and where they've been, rather than the plot. The bomb and on that story is just the means to bring them together again. Yeah, I mean, you're right. It's very fast paced. It does. Yeah. It feels a lot like Trainspotting actually. Lots of mates going out and doing all that crazy stuff. It does have some great stuff in there. I think there's some very funny moments. Yeah, there's some good humour in there. It wasn't what I was expecting at all. So I enjoyed it. It's got a good soundtrack as well. Obviously, there's lots of German bands on there, but you've also got Manic Street Preachers, Radiohead. There's a bit of Richard Ashcroft on there as well. So quite a British sounding soundtrack, I suppose. Yeah, not really my thing, but not enough punk on there for my liking. Well, no, but then of course most of it's not set in that period. So. Well, this is true. True. Yeah, obviously. But so no, David Hasselhoff, who obviously is popular in Germany. No, that's true. That's very true. There was a couple of kind of like emotional song moments, which I was a bit turned off by this time round, I have to say. So if you know German cinema, there's obviously, it's with every country, there's really good films and then you're not so good films. I find German cinema actually really interesting because if you go back to the kind of 70s, 80s, you've got a lot of, obviously famous, the two most famous filmmakers that came out of Germany were Wim Wenders and Werner Herzog. And then you've got people inside, Fassbinder and others. But
there's Germany consistently make good films, and I always find them a bit kind of outside the box a little bit. Obviously, we do know about French films. French is kind of the next country that lots of films come out of that we might hear about, but you tend not to hear so much about German cinema so much. And there's some really great films that have come out of Germany over the last 20, 30 years.
Well, we talked about Europa a few weeks ago.
We did do Europa, yeah, although that's not strictly German.
Wasn't it? Okay, forget that then.
It was set in Germany, but it's a Danish filmmaker. So.
Okay, forget it then.
And yeah, and I think, although on second viewing, I didn't think it was as good the first time around. I would recommend checking it out if you like it. If you up for maybe a little bit of a laugh. Nothing too heavy, nothing too you don't have to focus too much on the plot so much. You can get it. I've got it. I picked this up on Amazon a while ago.
It's pretty cheap. It's not hard to find, but I mean, it's not
cheap. Yeah,
not been released in a huge amount of countries. So
no, and there's a few. This one's got a few. There's some featurettes and some deleted scenes. So you can get quite a few things, few good things on there.
Although I don't know if it did it for you, but the subtitles stopped working a couple of times randomly.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
I don't remember that being a problem, but I don't know.
But and then they just suddenly started working again. So it made it a bit confusing for a couple of minutes. But you can get what's going on. It's fine.
Yes.
And if you talk German, If you speak German, it's fine.
Obviously.
And if you or any of the other languages that have subtitles on there, you'll probably be all right as well.
Yes, indeed. Great. So that was what to do in case of fire. And as always, if you enjoyed the video, let us know in the comments below.
Yep, hit the subscribe button up there if you like what you've watched. There's some links to some other videos over there to check out. Come and join us on Twitter and Facebook. And come back next week for another video.